Hey everybody, welcome to the Enhance Your World show. I'm your host, Chris Alba. I apologize for being a few minutes late today on our live. I was on the phone and ran over a little bit, so I apologize for that. But I'm really excited to share some stories today, and the title of today is "We Aren't Waiting for the New World, We're on Our Way." And when I think about this, um, I know the ego wants to beat us up for procrastinating, to wait, and but having that inner faith of like, okay, things aren't where they need to be right now. I need to look into this, or I need to sharpen some skills here, or I need some resources in this area, is actually quite wise. I can relate it to nature. When we plant a seed, it takes time to create an outcome that blooms into fruition, into the fruit. Now, in our man-made Western society of efficiency and effectiveness, the matrix, or whatever societal constructs we create to try to describe things, um, there is a sense of urgency that we can create a lot of things, and to some degree that's true. If we invested our energy into building a house, for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, we'd be able to build that house a little bit faster than if we were only going to put a couple hours in per week. And that's why we like to talk about energy. It's a frequency, it's a consistency. So right now I'm feeling very driven to learn Spanish, so I'm being more consistent with daily activities to learn that language, because part of this show we're definitely going to be talking about my experiences that are our experiences that we've had over the last few weeks in Colombia, on a sacred pilgrimage to Cumbal, and the mother volcano there. That is, in many traditions, the birthplace. Cumbal area is the birthplace of the earth. So it was really powerful to go through that experience, to have that experience, to share those experiences with people that I know and love, and those new folks that are now part of the collective family of brother and sisterhood, because we did something together. We have a common goal. We have a common vision to help bring balance back to the planet, um, in a way of harmonizing the masculine and the feminine, the mind and the heart, and for those of us that live more through our heart than our head, sometimes what we do doesn't make sense um, in a short term. It takes a long time before the fruits of our efforts um, are manifested. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the inner love, and um, on both the levels of um, self nourishment, caring for oneself, taking the time to care, and the soft love that has been so popularized over the last few years. If it's challenging, let it go, kind of thing. And I followed that methodology for a little bit, and it caused a lot of unexpected results, a lot of unexpected hurts, a lot of unexpected pleasures. It's the whole thing, it's the whole truth. Um, and there's this attempt to control our ability to discern information between the old ways of how we got here to this place of presence, both good and bad, light and dark, you know, um, heroic and evil. It's a duality because the mind cannot discern without an anchor point. Up means nothing to the mind without the subconscious awareness of what down means. It gives directionality. We're always moving forward through consciousness, through time and space, through our lifetime. And to think that our life is only going to be peaks and no valleys is a little naive, because even when you go to walk in the mountains, you have to go up and down. And then when you make that trek back, what was down was then up. And so in our experience in Colombia, towards the end of our 13-mile hike through the Andes, was a very steep incline down the side of a mountain. And it was muddy and it was slick. And getting down was the challenging part, was not hurting yourself, but you could kind of slide down, and it didn't take a whole lot of physical effort to walk. If you didn't want to, you could slide. It was pretty easy. I found that to be one of the easiest parts of the trek there. Now on the way back, it was just as sloppy, just as muddy, just as steep, but on the opposite direction we were going up it. And it was probably the hardest, I would say, the hardest for me, part of the journey back. So the easiest on the way there and the hardest on the way back. And then that in itself is a reflection of when we're always coming back to ourselves in self-love and finding that balance within ourselves of the masculine and the feminine, the nourishment part, and then the effective part that moves us towards something. It's the container. It's the riverbanks to the river of life, and our feminine energy is the water, which is always moving. And that's a great representation of our emotions, because sometimes they're rapid and they're strong and they're overpowering. And then there's sometimes where they almost seem stagnant. But as long as they're continuously moving, it's not going to build up other things. And that's what happens, is we try to protect ourselves sometimes in our emotions, and we pool them up, and we try to put this buffer of protection, the shield of protection of expectations or standards or all these various different things. And that works because it lessens the impact of what energy can get in, right? But the challenge then sometimes is life always finds a way. There's no way to destroy energy, right? It always continues. So as we have this emotional buffer of water, of emotion, that keeps us from getting vulnerable and intimate and close and all those things, it also starts to fester into things like resentment and past stories that where we saw ourselves being taken advantage of, or someone not seeing us properly, or our worth, or who we, all those various different things. And that's the ego. The ego has something to prove because it only has one lifetime to experience itself. Our spirit, our soul, is a deeper connection, and it's timeless. And so for me anyway, my goal has been to try to harmonize my head and my heart through my behaviors. of how I relate to myself and each other and every life outside of myself. And that's been a really good practice for me because it's not basing it on other teachings and practices, um, that we're all doing, right? To say that we're doing something towards our healing journey and we get effects out of it. I mean, doing breath work and meditation and yoga and being out in nature and all these various different things benefit our well-being. And I'm not trying to discount it in any form or imagination. I mean, life wouldn't exist without our plant and animal brothers and sisters. And the thing that we're always talking about unity, for me, that what made it really simple was understanding that we're all born on this planet, the Mother Earth. That's why I tend to like to um, look at more nature based spirituality, um, because it allows my five senses to witness the teachings that are in so many other spiritualities, and to feel it and to experience it. And I could try all day and all episode and all that to try to share all the immense um, peace and gratitude and strength, and even when the challenging memories and thoughts came up and the walk got a little challenging, that was an opportunity for me to alchemize that and smile at it, smile at the discomfort, because I knew it was only temporary. And the more I did that, the stronger I felt, the more encouraged I felt, the more grateful I was for it. And, I walk away from that experience saying, yes, it was probably one of the more physically demanding things that I've done in my life. Abso-freaking-lutely. But it was also one of the most peaceful, beautiful, and profound experiences as well. On the way back, I felt like I was floating over the wetlands, where on the way there, I felt like I was, walking through the, uh, uh, well, I'm trying to recall that never ending story, uh, the swamps of despair or whatever it was. And that was what it felt like. And, getting there, because it was cold and it was wet and we had a long walk ahead, and I didn't know how long it was going to be till we got there. And, my body hurt and it was hard to breathe, and, all these various different things. And after a couple days of being out there, it just got easier. On the way back, I found myself in the very front of the pack with the guide, and we were pausing because we were losing the group, versus on the way there, I was in the back of the group. I was trying to catch up. And the other factor was that, I was carrying a pack that was heavy on the way there. And on the way back, I wasn't carrying a pack. It was someone carried it for me on a horse. And so there was a little less of a load that I had to carry, which made it easier for me to have an easier experience. And even though I had that experience, I still wanted to help carry other people's packs, if they wanted to let go of them, which none of them seemed to want to do that. And that was fine, because I was in the same place. It wasn't until, I realized that, it could go on another animal that was, stronger than us humans, that I felt okay with doing it. And then the horsemen carried it for a long portion of the way that I saw, because they ended up having to take a different trail, because the horses couldn't go where we were walking. So, but what an amazing time, amazing people from all over the world. We had some really powerful and synchronistic ceremonies, absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend, if you get the opportunity to travel to South America. The heart of the people and all the different things. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so um, blessed to have gotten to go and have that experience, and I really look forward to future experiences as the community and network and things grow. I'll be traveling back and forth, and people will be traveling from there to here, and that's how we bridge the gaps. You know how we walk in unity and create this new world that we all want. That's in balance. That's in harmony. That's in peace. That's not forcing agendas, not forcing outcomes, not forcing ways of thought or ways of being human, but allowing that we're all loving creatures, we're all loving animals, and we attack just like most other animals when we feel threatened, whether that's financially, whether that's socially, whether that's sexually, whether that's based on our skin color, our traditions or cultures, or anything else our man-made um, school of thought has created that separates us from all other nature. We have a prefrontal cortex, and we have memories, and we have all these other things that we could actually be using for the benefit of all life rather than our own personal lives. And that's my challenge to myself and other people, is there's nothing wrong with the energy of money, but it's how are you using it. One of the beautiful words that they used in South America that I prefer over what I've related it to, which is property, is territory, because the territory is what you care for. It's that part of you know the thing that you caretake, where property means you own it. And it was very beautiful to be walking through where we walk through and all that kind of stuff. And there was free grazed cattle and all that kind of stuff out there, but there wasn't a lot of fences. There wasn't a lot of this is mine, you can't cross here, no trespassing. It was kind of like wide open territory, right? And you could walk it and you could explore it. And as we walked the course, as one of my life rules is always to try to leave things better than I found it. So, I was collecting trash along the trail. There wasn't a lot of trash, but there were still candy wrappers and then some things like that. Some beer bottles from, people. But it's not a tourist spot. So there wasn't a lot of garbage. It was actually what the natives would throw on the ground as they were doing their hikes, or what would fall out of their pockets or whatever, fall off their horse, whatever. But we did end up with, on the way back, a nice little collection of stuff. And, I only share that because you wouldn't know if I didn't share it. It's not to say that I'm a better person, because I'm not. In fact, there was a bunch of people doing it. And the conversations that we had was, okay, how do we get these beer bottles? How do we get these other things that are a little bit bigger than a candy wrapper that's easier to put in our pockets, But, we also have to understand that we can't do it all ourselves, and we rely on other people and other opportunities, leave opportunities for other people to be able to step into their powers. And so, the reason that I wanted to talk about that, we're not waiting for the new world, is because the new world's already been created. It's in its blossoming stage. And those of us that are lucky enough to be at the seed level, Some of us are a little scared of the dark, of the depths, of what it truly means to be human and free choice, to be able to do anything that you choose to. And that's going to be based on your thoughts and your feelings. Why do people go to war? Because they think it's the right thing to do, or they feel that it's the right thing to do, or both. You know, I used to think it was good. It was okay to sometimes be violent on the aggressive side because you were standing for something that you believed in, like equality. But then what I realized was that doesn't change minds or hearts. That only instills more energy of hate and separation and fear. Allows people to have enemies. And it allows us to walk around with fear that we're not safe. So we're hyper vigilant of our environments. It's one of the things that I've been working on over the last few years is calming down my hypervigilance to an environment. One of the benefits of being hypervigilant is you see a lot of things, you observe a lot of things. So that's not something that I want to completely cut out of my life and just be closed off. But at the same time, I don't want to be where I can't be relaxed and enjoying the company of those that I'm sharing my time with because of all the energies and all the movement outside of our table or our circle or our conversation. Because some people read that as that I'm not listening and I don't care. And I actually do. And sometimes I don't hear properly because I'm distracted. And that's why I'm working on it, and I hold myself accountable to that, and I openly talk about it. It's a form of awareness. I'm aware, I'm claiming it. Doesn't make me any better or worse of a person. It's just something that I can do to enhance my level of skill sets, enhance my energy of being present to what's there and not worried about what could come in. For so long, I've been worried about my invisible fence, but that's only helped me strengthen my faith and my understanding and the things that I don't see, and know that everything is working out for all of us in the best ways, whether we can see it in the moment or not. And it's all for a level of growth internally. You know, I was talking to a friend, and it's like, you know, one of the greatest realizations that one can have is to realize that you don't have to prove yourself anymore. Because we were taught to have to prove ourselves through our systems. We compete for grades, we compete for this, we compete for praise, to be seen, to be valued. It's so subconscious in us that a lot of us can't see it. You know, it was pretty fun yesterday when I went to Amazon yesterday. It was the first day back since I got back from Colombia. And as soon as someone saw me, they said, "Hey, you got to come with me." And I was like, "Okay." And we walked over there, and she's like, "I got something for you." And I was like, "What's that?" And she handed it to me. And apparently I got the driver of the month in December. And they're, woohoo, great. You know, it came with a nice little prize and bonus and, you know, a little recognition. That was nice. My ego appreciates that. I appreciate being appreciated, right? Everybody does. Nothing right or wrong about it. It is. And, but the reality of it is I was just showing up. I was just being me. I was just doing the best that I could with every given situation. Some days I had really bad days, challenging days. Other days, phenomenal. But you know what? What I've learned is I don't give up. that the challenges that I've had in my life have given me a level of tenacity, and deepening my intuition has also taught me when to give energy and when to pull my energy back. That doesn't mean that the outcomes that I have are always what I expected them to be. That's part of the purpose of being here to life, is to grow. You know, I teach 5 universal principles in my guidance program, Engage Your Life: gratitude, awareness, unity, growth, and energy. Why? Because the universal principles are present in everything. And then whatever flavor of information that you like to follow, whether it's ancient philosophy, whether it's modern science, whether it's personal relationships, professional, enhancement, those types of things, these universal principles apply. They're the seeds that allow you to create and germinate the life that you want. I don't know what you want. I don't know what your soul craves for. I don't know what you want in a personal partner or a personal life, and what is your favorite foods, and all that kind of stuff. That's your ego. That's what separates us. What I am aware of is these 5 universal laws or rules have been presented to me through many different philosophies, through my dreams, through the observation of nature, through walking with all these great wisdom keepers, all these great healers and medicine people, and those that are the scientists that are working to save our planet. They all believe in the same things. They're just different, because that's how they relate to it. It's like learning a new language. There's similarities, gives you a base understanding, but then we have to sharpen our skill set a little bit to define it. We got back from the hike last week. I don't remember what day it was, to be honest with you. But the woman who was cooking for us at camp, her daughter's birthday was that day. And they invited us to the birthday. And one of the beautiful things that I experienced in that time was we were singing happy birthday to her in all these different languages. But it was pretty much the same song. Just how you pronounce the word was different. The rhythm, all the things were the same. So even though that I couldn't cognitively understand, I could feel it in my heart. And that was cool. And I think that's part of the unity of things, right? Sometimes we feel things a little stronger than we think. Sometimes we think a little stronger than we feel. And that allows us the discernment of where we're in and out of alignment with our true, authentic self. Not based on what we've gone through, not based on where we're trying to get to, because everything that we want is right here in this moment. And when we can learn to be grateful for what we have and hadn't experienced, we learn what true freedom can be for ourselves, for our communities, for our relationships, for our businesses. Again, it's all energy. And I hope some of this stuff makes sense. I try to be a direct channel. That's why I go onto this show live and don't work through a whole lot of scripts or anything like that. Because I want to show up. And not in a performance kind of way or a projected kind of way, but in a true, authentic, humble moment where I may or may not say something To me, that is the mystery unfolding for itself. The void becoming manifestation. And then I get to look back at these and see what came through. So yeah, I'm doing this show as much for me as for you in many different ways. I hope a lot of this creates conversation, right? Hope a lot of this creates the opportunity for those that are in separation from those that they love, which is everybody. It's just what's the level of unconditional love. Sometimes we have to hold those that are closest to us to a higher standard than somebody who is totally just existing in life. Whatever way that looks, I'm really trying to be careful not to project on anybody of there's a right or wrong way to live, because I don't believe there is. As long as you're not harming things unnecessarily, because then that gets in a whole moral debate about hunting and fishing and farming, because it's been proven that our plants scream just as much as an animal does when we take from it. It feels pain too. It just can't communicate it with our five senses. And the deeper we go within ourselves, the more sensitive we feel in our energetic fields, the more that we can feel whether or not something or not has been harvested and processed in a good way. You know, one of the interesting things, to me anyway, it's interesting, is working with, you know, a lot of indigenous and ancient cultures, the love and respect for tobacco. And it's used in all kinds of different ways, in all kinds of different forms. It's a form of medicine. It's a form of cleansing. It's a form of gratitude. There's a lot of different ways to use tobacco, and I love that. It's a sacred plant, and I think when we start to look at all things as sacred, we ask ourselves, how can this be used in a good way, rather than saying that this is trash or this is garbage or this isn't valuable. So that's a whole nother side note. But that being said, for the last few years, I've been smoking tobacco as a habit. Again, I had quit for many years and chose to pick it back up. And I've been smoking, you know, commercial cigarettes with filters, because, you know, I was always under the impression that, you know, non-filtered tobacco was worse for you than filtered tobacco. And this week, or last week, because we were so open to what was going to be, we didn't bring enough packs of cigarettes, commercial cigarettes, filtered cigarettes. And I was totally good with it. Smoke rolled tobacco, you know, I have loose tobacco because we use it in a lot of different ways, right? And so we were rolling them, and yeah, it was a little stronger than, you know, my filtered cigarette. And I have to hit it as hard or whatever. But one of the gentlemen there, we were talking about the difference between rolling our cigarettes and commercial cigarettes, and he said, yeah, you know, it holds such an energy that it makes my stomach, if I smoke a filtered commercial cigarette, even the organic ones, because that's what I smoke, it makes me feel bloated and gives me stomach issues. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, you know, and because that's our emotional center, you know, he's so essentially clean energetically that little bit of energy difference makes a physical impact. Well, we went all that time on rolled cigarettes and didn't have a issue with it or whatever. But of course, when I got back to the States and got back to, you know, at the house and falling back into our normal stuff, right? I've purchased a pack of filtered cigarettes. Well, I notice when I smoke those how much my stomach right now is affected by them versus if I roll one or not. Now that's just an interesting coincidence or synchronicity or however you want to look at it. But what if that is actually the higher truth? That it's not what we're consuming, but it's how we're creating the consumerism, you know? When I purchase, you know, items, I tend to hang on to them until they're no longer usable in any way, and then I get rid of it. Um, and because I was taught by my grandparents that you just don't go and replace your stuff all the time because then you're giving away your energy more than you need to. You know, it's like the house that I live in, that I could do all kinds of work to this house and make it super sweet. And, you know, we're making improvements here and there and all that kind of stuff. But I understand it's an energy transfer. And there's only so much that I can put in that it's going to mutually give me back. And if I do more than that, then I'm not in balance in some way. And the same thing with our relationships. It's not proving that to ourselves or anyone else that we're loving people in a lot of cases. There's always exceptions to the rules, except for the universal laws. Because we all have this opportunity we call life to express ourselves as we think, feel, and behave is the right way to be. And it's only when we slow down and we reflect that we can learn through discernment what's the best way to move our energy towards collective benefit and away from the separatist ego that has this hierarchy that something or one thing or somebody is better than something else. That's how we find unity. That's how we awaken to the new world that we're already living in. It's already here. You just have to look for it. It's not going to be on the news. It's not going to be on the television. Maybe a little bit on social media, you know, because there's a lot more homesteaders and things, a lot more spiritual people sharing insights and information and that kind of stuff, talking about how to be a better version of yourself, which is impossible. That's the ego getting out of the way so spirit can come through. And to me, that's what you let go of. Someone asked me, how do you stop being so reactive and angry and aggressive? Well, if I want my point to go through, what's the best way to make it? When I'm yelling at somebody or when I'm having a casual conversation, engaging in conversation, asking questions, being open and peaceful. It's discerning that to be harmonized between our minds and our hearts is through our actual being in the moment. And when we make a mistake, when we act out, when we fall out of alignment, when we raise our voice, when we fall from center, when we fall asleep, whatever we want to say in these terms, we acknowledge it. We learn to be grateful for it because it marks an opportunity for us to witness how far we've come and how far we still have to go. And I would request that you open yourself up to witnessing how people act, how they speak, and how they treat other people. Just observe it. And even if you were to ask the question, how would I be in that circumstance? How would I act in that way? And if you put yourself above or below that person, that's where your shadow work has. That's where your shadow work is. If you believe that your value and worth is more than another living life, that is ego. If you believe that all other life is more valuable than you, that is still ego. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, because it's a form of identification. And if it's identified, which means it's a mindset, if it's identifiable, that's your mind. That's why feelings sometimes can be challenging. And so you can be feeling, oh, I'm feeling this. I don't know how to put words to it. I don't know if it's excitement or anxiety or enthusiasm or bad, good. This is just what's going on right now. I feel antsy, and I've tried to work really diligently in that energy of not associating a feeling with an identity of this is happiness, this is anger, this is contentment, and just really just tapping into the energy of it. And that's been helping me um, relax my nervous system, help me focus, help me get more in tune with my inner wisdom, those types of things, because I'm not having so much contrast going, well, this teaching says this and this says this. And someone over here once told you this. And that kept me in my mind, and it kept me rehearsing things, and kept me in forms of suffering and in my own personal enslavement to trying to prove to something outside of myself that I am valuable and I'm worthy and I'm a great resource to have in one's life. And I'm so grateful for those that are in my life that see that help remind me of that when I'm not feeling that way sometimes, because I'm not where I want to be yet, and hope truly never to fucking get there. I always want to be in a work in progress. And you know what? I'm a lot more grateful for the sustainable growth that I've been going through over the last decade than the ups and downs of just letting life. As my one friend of mine said once, that I was a cat toy for the universe, because that was how I lived. That truly I did. I wasn't afraid of anything, and I was like, that sounds fun, let's do it. Ooh, a new experience, let's have that. Ooh, and nothing bad's gonna happen. And then when things got challenging, whether I became an addict or a loss of a friend, or fire or theft, or any of these other beautiful redirections that took me a long time to actually see them as beautiful redirections, and then teaching me what I truly needed and what I didn't, through my own experiences, was I able to be where I am today. And I'm just getting started. Again. New birth, new birth, new birth. Something has to die to be reborn. And that's where let it go, I believe, comes from. That doesn't mean we force people out of our lives or force circumstances or, any of the other things, in my view. If you can appreciate someone for who they are, even though they're going through things, you are a loving human being. Whether you choose to get involved or not, that depends on where you're at and what you're able to give. I was just talking to a friend of mine who has cancer, and she's trying to help somebody. And I said in our conversation, one of the things that I wish I could teach you is right now, as you're going through this process that you're going through and trying to heal, the last thing that you should be doing one of the last things that I would be doing, given your situation, is trying to do what you're doing when the person themselves doesn't want to make a difference. They don't want to change. They just want to excuse why they are the way they are, and they don't want to make the effort to actually put the energy into their life to being who they think they want to be. Because the person continues to lie and continues to do what they're doing. That's okay. You can still love that person. In fact, they need love too. But it's also come from my understanding that I only really grew when something that I really wanted wasn't obtainable because of who I was being or believed myself to be. And when I was able to let go of that identity of that and focus my energy, both mentally, emotionally, and physically, into creating the person that I wanted to be, I started doing that. I used to talk about when I dropped cigarettes, how easy it was to quit because it wasn't in vibration with me anymore of where I was trying to be, because I was in the personal development phase of my growth. And so it was about looking good. It was about going to the gym and doing all the things, and trying to create this perfect persona. And in an unconscious way, I started smoking again to humble myself, to just realizing that I'm human just like everybody else, and I can do whatever I choose to do. If I don't want to smoke, I don't smoke. If I want to smoke, I smoke. That is free will. There's outcomes on both sides. The meaning I give it depends. I know this seems like a lot. These are big, hairy, audacious concepts with lots of space and lots of movement, lots of possibilities. And that's the thing, is there's an abundance of possibilities. It's infinite. Who we choose to be is our choice. How we choose to reflect that outwardly is another choice, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And part of the waking up process is to have empathy, in my belief, and curiosity, because then you get to see things in a whole nother light, a whole new reality. And when you can do that, then you can see the limitations of certain beliefs, of certain structures that you thought were absolute, and you realize how pliable this universe actually is. There's the law of lift that allows us to fly in airplanes and things and birds and all that stuff, but there's also the law of gravity. Everything is in perfect order. It's universal law, and it will always be. whether we as individuals will experience it, whether humanity gets to experience it, uh, is beyond ourselves. We can give that up to the creator, spirit, whatever higher power hierarchy you want to put your energy into and relate to. So, that being said, I hope you get something out of this. I really recommend taking some time to reflect each and every day, whether you call it meditation, do breath work, whatever it is. Find some things that add to your cup, not commercial things, not things you have to pay for, because that again continues to enslave us in the system of this monetary, those who have and those who don't. And when we understand it's all energy, and true abundance is being able to give while also knowing that you'll always receive enough, then we won't be living in such a scarcity mindset. And it will be easier to walk with one another in unity and understanding and unconditional love. That's my hope. That's my downloads for the day. Those are my stories. I hope you had an amazing experience in today's show. Please feel free to subscribe to our channels on YouTube and on Facebook, the Enhance Your World Show. And I will see you next week, Wednesday at 11:30. Thanks so much. You can check out all the broadcasts, sign up for a free profile, community profile, get involved in what we've got going on, all the different events and things that we have at enhancingyourworld.com. Would love to see you there. Much love and gratitude for everything you are, everything you do, and everything you choose to be. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.